The 2024 presidential election is over, and we will soon have a new president, President-elect Donald Trump. So what's next for us? In today's video, I'll explore the key components of President-elect Trump's housing plan and what it could mean for the real estate market. While campaigning, he has highlighted goals to boost housing affordability and availability. As he prepares to take office, allow me to break down these proposals to better understand their potential impact on the housing landscape in the years to come. I care about his housing plan since my career is in real estate and my business can be affected by any plans he has, and because I have experienced firsthand the issues that we have in regards to housing. I decided to make this video describing his plan, my thoughts on it, and what others have had to say about it, and to get your opinion on whether he has a good housing plan that could solve our problems. First, let me tell you what the problems are with housing. To state it plainly, there's a housing affordability crisis in America. Millions of Americans can't afford to buy a home or rent a suitable apartment. A main reason for not being able to afford suitable housing is there is a housing shortage. We're talking about supply and demand here. When there is a low supply of something and demand for that something is high, a consequence of that high demand is an increase in the price of that something. Ever since the foreclosure crisis, which was a period of time roughly between 2007 and 2010 when many properties were being foreclosed, there have been far fewer new single-family homes and multifamily rental buildings under construction. According to an article from the Associated Press, the shortfall, which some economists say ranges from 1 million to around 4 million homes, has for the better part of the last decade fueled bidding wars that boosted the median sales price of a previously occupied U.S. home to an all-time high of $426,000 in June 2024. In May, national home prices were up 48% from 4 years earlier. While the increase in value is great for existing homeowners in regards to equity building, it is difficult for others to become homeowners. This is concerning because it is well known that home ownership is a major way to wealth creation. Renters aren't catching a break either because according to the same AP article, asking rent remains roughly 20% higher than it was before the pandemic. So, President-elect Trump has outlined his housing plan during many speeches throughout his campaign. I wanted to describe his plan to you and get your thoughts. Do you think this is a great plan, and will it solve our problems? To help ease demand, which could therefore lead to increased affordability for both renters and buyers, President-elect Trump's housing plan calls for increasing the supply of housing through opening federally owned land for housing construction. Trump has pledged to cut zoning and construction regulations that raise housing costs and slows down housing production. And to further increase affordability, Trump's proposals include cutting interest rates by slashing inflation. And finally, President-elect Trump has pledged that he will, quote, launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country, end quote. Nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants were living in the U.S. as of 2022. Trump has accused undocumented immigrants for many of the problems we have in America, such as high health care, education, and housing costs, stating that illegal immigrants have contributed to competition for housing. He believes if undocumented immigrants are deported and the border was secure, that would decrease demand for housing and lower costs. From my research, the critics seem to agree that opening up federally owned land for the construction of housing is a good idea. But offering up federal land alone will not solve the problem. Will building on federal land cover the shortfall of approximately 1 to 4 million homes? In regards to the mass deportation of undocumented immigrants, many agree that the open border policies have contributed to increased demand for housing, but another contributing factor unrelated to migrants being in our country, high interest rates, can't be ignored and needs to be addressed. Additionally, builders have warned of the threat mass deportation will pose for the construction industry. The construction sector employs an estimated 1.5 million undocumented workers, or 13% of its total workforce, according to an NBC News article. If the number of construction workers dwindles, that will certainly drive up housing prices because how can you build more homes, increase the supply, if you deport the people who build them? In the NBC News article, Jim Tobin, CEO of the National Association of Home Builders, states, Mass deportation would be detrimental to the construction industry and our labor supply and exacerbate our housing affordability problems. He said the trade group considers foreign-born workers, regardless of legal status, a vital and flexible source of labor to builders, estimating they fill 30% of trade jobs like carpentry, plastering, masonry, and electrical roles. In my opinion, I feel Trump's ideas are a good start except for the immigration crackdown. I feel that deporting undocumented immigrants will have a negative effect on the construction industry, possibly bringing construction of homes to a halt, which is opposite of what we need to happen. And I don't believe migrants are solely to blame for our housing crisis. I also question how he would execute his plan to gather and deport undocumented immigrants. I don't feel I have all the details necessary to fully evaluate his plan for decreasing interest rates by slashing inflation and removing some regulations related to zoning and construction, nor do I think that with the info I do have, the housing crisis will end. I feel more should be done, especially with increasing the housing supply. So what are your thoughts on Trump's plans for housing? Let me know in the comments. Do you think President-elect Trump's plan is the answer to our housing problems?